People have already mailed in their ballots or voted early in the country. Our neighbors in Tennessee and Georgia are seeing record early voting turnout. But are they good indicators of what we'll be up against on Election Day in Alabama? WAFF 48's Nick Ballinger spoke to a political analyst to break these numbers down. Nick?
Hey, Margot. Political analyst Wayman Burke tells me it sure shows us that people care. It's not clear yet if high early voting will lead to higher voting totals, but it can definitely give us an idea about the importance people feel this election has. Record high early voting numbers are rolling in. 1.8 million in Tennessee, more than 38% of total expected turnout. 3.2 million in Georgia, a state record. But for Alabamians, you'll have to wait for November 5th.
If I had the opportunity to vote early, I probably would. Because that sort of ensures your vote in case something happens on Election Day.
Political analyst Wayman Burke says even though we don't have early voting here in the Yellowhammer State, we can learn from these numbers.
There is a great deal of intense interest in this. 2020, then President Trump basically discouraged people from voting early, saying that it was rigged and that type of thing. That did not work well for him, but now he is encouraging his supporters to vote early.
NBC is reporting that of the 58 million early voters, so far it's evenly split between Republicans and Democrats. And while Burke says these high numbers are a good sign, he isn't sure if this means more voters overall.
What we don't know is, are those votes being cannibalized from the people who would normally have voted on Tuesday?
Madison County probate judge Frank Barger is concerned about apathetic voters not hitting the polls because they feel they don't have to.
It certainly concerns me that more folks are not participating. The primary this year concerned me.
He shared with me that only 17% of eligible voters went to the polls during this year's primary. That's half of the turnout the election prior. But he says that number shouldn't affect the usual 65% voter turnout we see, as long as voters actually show up.
You can't complain about how things turn out if you're not engaged. Don't let a rainy day, a windy day, an off weather day, don't let that impact you.
Now, if you're an older voter, don't let the long lines on Election Day discourage you. Barger tells me if you're 70 or above, you're allowed to skip the line. Just walk to the front and show them your ID. You can also skip the line if you have a disability. Margot?
Good information.